Crude oil prices just soared above $65 a barrel on fears that escalating violence in Nigeria could result in supply disruptions. Now, doesn't that sound like a headline you've heard a dozen times before in the past 2 years? Can the U.S. ever break its dependence on foreign oil? Is it possible we can learn from a country posting record growth numbers, China? China just signed an agreement with a South African energy and chemicals firm to build 2 coal-to-liquid fuel plants in China. These plants, costing $3 billion each, are reported to jointly produce 60 million tons of liquid fuel. That's 440 million barrels a year. Hello everyone, I'm Sandy Franks and this is Smart Investing Stock Breakthroughs. I've asked Andrew Snyder, editor of Volume Spike Alert and contributing editor to the daily free e-letter Fear and Greed, to share with you new information he's uncovered on coal-to-liquid fuel. Andy, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Now, before we get too far into this topic, would you take a minute to explain to our viewers exactly what coal-to-liquid fuel technology is?
Sure. It's fairly old technology, but it's not real complicated, but it takes enough capital that we're not seeing it everywhere in the United States. Basically, what it was invented before the Second World War, and it takes coal and they liquefy it, and then they use a catalyst, usually some sort of metal, to turn it back into a fuel that we can burn in normal engines that run gasoline or even jet fuel.
Now, the U.S. isn't totally blind to coal-to-liquid fuel technology. As you said, it's been around for a couple of years, and we've also opened an experimental plant in Pennsylvania, which cost about $300 million and produces 250,000 tons a year. This would make its capital cost per ton of oil more than 10 times those of the plants in China. So my question, Andy, is what is the U.S. doing wrong?
Well, I think the main problem is the technology is still in its infancy here. We know the technology, but we haven't implemented it much. We don't have the tooling necessary to go out and make these factories and get them up cheaply. And there's just not enough people doing it. We have a factory in Pennsylvania, a handful started up throughout the rest of the country that they're converting to old factories, but it's still costly because we're not doing enough of it. As we get more experience with it and the technology matures, it'll get cheaper.
So is this an area then that China is just beating us on? They've already got these plants and they're producing this enormous amount, so are we kind of losing the race to them?
We're in a lot of ways, America is following China's energy continuum. We're following right on their heels. They're doing more nuclear things. They're doing more coal plants. They're really, because they need the electricity a lot more than we do, so they're leading the way.
Well, now let's talk specifically about the impact this technology would have on our dependence to foreign oil and possibly oil prices themselves. Typically, this technology is too expensive to compete with standard crude oil when it comes in around $40, $50 a barrel. But you would think at $60 a barrel and higher, the technology would be cost effective. Is that correct?
It is most certainly cost effective. The magic number is usually right around $40. I've seen $35 per barrel where it's competitive with standard crude oil. As we go forward, it'll get cheaper, but it's definitely competitive, at $60.
Now, typically the U.S. is a little more conservative and concerned about the environment, where China probably isn't. And I would think that even with this technology, we would still have the same kind of problems we have with typical coal mining, which destroys lands, pollutes the water, and also is one of the main causes of acid rain. Do we still have these kind of problems that we have to contend with?
Unfortunately, we will, but it'll be half a dozen or 6 of the other. The fuel can be made much more efficiently. We'll have a lot less pollution, a lot less carbon dioxide going in the air. So if we can find better ways of mining, strip mining is horrible on the environment, but we have underground mining, which is getting much safer. It's better for the environment. And so it can have a positive impact if we do it right, if we do it efficiently.
Are there other industries that would benefit from this technology?
There's a whole host of industries. First of all, anybody that uses crude, if we can get it cheaper through this technology, coal-to-liquid technology, it'll be much cheaper for them. But one of the biggest areas to look at is railroads. Every pound of coal that goes across this nation gets carried by a train somewhere. So if you invest in these railroads and watch them grow as our demand for coal increases, it'll be a really good area to make some money.
Now, coal to liquid is considered an alternative fuel. Does that mean that we'll see a surge in companies pursuing the benefits of the new alternative energy bills in Congress in the form of, say, subsidies and federal contracts?
Sure. Anywhere there's free money to be had, businesses will go for it. Right now, the Congress is still debating whether to include this technology in some of their latest bills, but you can bet going in the future it will be included. It was in the past, and I think we're going to get there again.
Now, you mentioned a little bit ago about railroads being an area for viewers to take advantage of in terms of investment, but are there any other particular companies you have in mind?
Well, the first company I'd have to say is always Rentech. They're the leader in coal to liquid technology. They're building a plant in Illinois. They just got permits for another one. Their biggest competitor is a smaller company called Centrolium, which seems to get more press, but they're not as advanced. Rentech's the company to look at. And if you're looking outside that in the coal industry, Peabody is a good one. They do a lot of coal in the West, and they're moving into Illinois with a deal with Rentech. So they're going to do extremely well as this technology takes off. Then you have the railroads like Burlington Northern Santa Fe, which are going to do just as well as this coal has to move across the country.
Why these companies? What caught your eye about them?
Well, Rentech I really like because of it's really in a growth stage. It's building these companies. It has the capital to do it. It has the deal with Peabody, which ensures it has. They have cheap coal till the year 2017, so they have the financial background to get them where they're going, and they have a lot of opportunities.
Now, at the beginning of the show, I talked about China, and it's already making a lot of headways in this area. When do you think that the U.S. will be at a point where we'll have, where production will be at full capacity?
Well, Rentech's building 2 plants now. They're working on real hard, and they had this deal that starts with Peabody, and it'll start feeding coal to them in 2009. So by 2009, 2010, we should see a lot of this coal to liquids fuel hitting the streets.
Okay, well, we're running out of time, so I'm going to have to stop us right here. I think it's a very interesting subject, and I'm sure that the viewers would like more information. Do you have any kind of reports that you're putting together or something that might be available in the next couple weeks?
Sure. You can always go to the Volume Spike Alert website, volumespikealert.com, or I write about it in our free daily e-letter, Fear and Greed, a lot, so you can check that out at fearandgreed.net.
Okay, well, thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
If you'd like to hear more about this alternative fuel source, you can read more in the free daily e-letter Andy mentioned, which is Fear and Greed, and you can sign up for it right here at taipanfinancialnews.com. Thank you for watching Stock Breakthroughs. I'm Sandy Franks, and I'll see you here again next week. Until then, here's to great profits from smart investing.